No break, I'm afraid. No rest for the wicked, Matthew. It's straight on through to the other side. 45 minutes, and then everyone gets a much longer break. But thank you very much, Matthew and Charlie, Sandra, Justine and Annabelle for that session. And welcome back to everyone from Joanne's colourful session. This is the last session, folks. And in the next 40 or so minutes, I think we just want to do a couple of things. One is reflect on the different aspects of the day. And then secondly, any questions that you might have that we haven't managed to get to or that have occurred to you about any aspects of what we've been looking at today across the OGMIUS project as part of In Full Flight. So just to give you a quick reminder, we began the day with TextLab and what it's like working across 3 languages and Zoom. Then we looked at the face-to-face residencies, the movement one in Roubaix and the music one in Bradford. Then this afternoon, we shared different ways in which support workers / éducateurs spécialisés / stage management do what they do and how they work to support artists to be the best they can be. And then you just heard from Matthew and Charlie about the Performance Academy and some of the particular details around validation and accreditation. Running alongside these panels, discussions and films, we presented 3 practical workshops on the Creative Doodle Book, on critical self-reflection, and on Colourful, as an example of artist-led work. So I'm just going to ask, I think, an open question, first of all, to the actors, just to find out whether from Jez or Alison or Leah or Paul or Frédéric or anyone who's still with us, just what's been the key learning across the project for you? I wonder who might speak to that. Alison, perhaps you might.
I can speak first.
Thank you.
One thing I've learned is that we may have a normal way of doing things, but there's no one way of doing art. There's many different forms out there, and you just have to be open to them.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Alison. I couldn't agree more. Are there any other artists that we have left with us? Or are they all decamped? I can see Frédéric hastily coming back into camera. Fantastic. Frédéric, could we prevail upon you to speak to that? Thank you, Annabelle.
Est-ce que tu peux nous dire ce que tu as appris du projet, ton avis en fait personnel sur le projet?
Alors le projet, pour moi, il était très intéressant. Franchement, c'était un challenge entre les Français, les Suédois et les Anglais.
So for Frédéric, it was very interesting, very enriching, and it was a challenge also to work with the English, the Swedish.
Et je pense que de travailler avec une grosse équipe comme celui-là, même s'il y a eu des freins de langue et tout ça, je pense que la conclusion, c'est que si on pourrait continuer à suivre, je pense que il y aurait pour moi et pour toute notre équipe, il n'y aurait pas de problème.
So even though we had to work with big teams, with language barriers, if we could do this again, we would with all of our heart, or at least Frédéric's heart.
Et je pense que j'étais c'est vrai qu'avec le corona, on a été bloqué beaucoup entre nous, et je pense que si l'année prochaine, entre guillemets, je m'étais guillemets, si l'année prochaine on pourrait reporter ou remettre ça, on serait prêt à continuer à travailler avec les Anglais, les Suédois, se faire touch workshop, voilà, toute rencontre, partir chez vous, que vous venez chez nous, que voilà, il y a.
So the project suffered a lot from the pandemic, and we couldn't move as much as we had planned to. So it makes you even more eager to continue the project and continue doing workshops with our colleagues from England and Sweden and from other countries, continue working together as much as we can over the next year, the following year, etc.
Et pour finir, je voudrais dire un grand merci à toute l'équipe en anglais, à Centerander, à l'équipe de Zondeander, voilà, et aussi, et toi aussi, un grand merci, et peut-être, entre guillemets, à l'année prochaine, si c'est possible, quoi.
So a big thanks to all of you at Mind the Gap, at Moomsteatern for making this possible. A big thank you, and fingers crossed, see you next year.
Thank you very much, Frédéric. There is a sense in which the work was cut short or interrupted. Obviously, there was a tremendous benefit to that because we were able to work with TextLab in a different way, which I thought was tremendously productive. And perhaps then we could hear from Jez, who's come back as well into the frame. Jez, just your reflections, please.
Well, I don't know what happened there earlier, but my reflection is it was a really enjoyable experience working with all the different actors, and also going back to the musical residency and the other residencies where I went to Sweden and also to Roubaix as well, not just for Irresistible or Contained, that was it, Contained, but for the residencies as well. And I think it's been a huge learning curve, and I'm going to go away thinking, well, if you can do a Little Prince on Zoom, surely you could do another bigger collaboration with a bigger theatre, with a bigger amount of actors from all different areas, you know, because I've learned that now, and I'm able to understand the way other people work, and that's exciting, very exciting.
It is exciting, and I think that that you and the whole TextLab team have demonstrated the possibilities of working collaboratively across languages online. We may not necessarily be able, as Frédéric has suggested, to have a wholly face-to-face set of encounters in any future project. I think this variance on this virus may be with us for a while. And so developing the skills to work both face-to-face and online seemed to me to be quite an important and useful aspect, actually, of the learning from the project. But I do think the work that you've done with Florence and Therese and Harold has been tremendously kind of innovative and pioneering in that sense.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to thank Harold, because that was kind of a very exciting adventure, and I'll never forget it. And I'd love to do other, when all this epidemic has finished, when COVID-19 has, they say you can go to other countries now, it's over. I want to do that. I want to stay for a couple of weeks and really get to know the companies and to be able to help them and create, and not just like an actor, but musically as well, you know, because that was a fun thing about the musical workshop. We collaborated and people learnt new things, and that's what I want to do. I want to go there, either to Roubaix or wherever, and you know, study and take part for a week or a year or whatever. You know, that would be quite exciting if we could.
Thank you, Jez. Well, I think that's a very good creative challenge for all the partners to listen to and to try to take forward. And certainly when it comes to thinking about what next, I think Jez's words need to be very much in the mix. Can I turn now to the partner companies, perhaps, and ask them the same question? What was the key learning for you from this project? Sandra, can we come to you perhaps in Sweden?
Hey.
Hey.
Still me, because we are opening our next performance on Sunday. So everyone else is in rehearsals right now. Well, one of the things I did, Jonathan, because since I don't have my actor colleagues here to answer this question, I asked Therese to tell me so that I could make a little statement from her at this moment. And I think for her, she said that what is so important, because I think during this day we talked a lot about the differences between the companies, like differences in languages or the differences in how we support. But I think what our actors take away is our similarities and what brings us together. And Therese said that she thinks it's obvious that we all sort of value the arts and each other in all the organizations, and that we all work towards high quality art without lowering demands. And the greatness to see that in an international context, to meet colleagues from other countries, I think is what our actors take with them from this project.
Great, thank you very much, Sandra. Perhaps I can come to the Mind the Gap team next. Hello, Julia.
Hello.
Ah.
I think to build on what Sandra said, I am going to speak from my own perspective. I also wanted to kind of speak to the strength of the partnership, really. I think there's been such a, and the fact that the partnership has extended over so many years. I think we've been, L'Oiseau-Mouche, Moms and Mind the Gap in various shapes and forms. I think we've been working together for over a decade now, or something like a decade now. And I think that what that's enabled us to do is just keep building and building on our learning and collaboration. And I think as a result of that, we've managed to achieve kind of a really strong breadth of direct influence on each other, built out of mutual respect and working together. And in turn, I know that there are colleagues from our wider Crossing the Line partnership here today, from Theatre Babel in the Netherlands, lovely Blue Teapots in Ireland, our colleagues Theatre 21 in Poland, and a bit close to home, Hijinks. I think that it helps keep the quality standards and our mindfulness about what we do really, really high and really sharp. And because we've been working together for so long, we're able to have kind of quite detailed and robust conversations about things. And, you know, we'll take things back here to Mind the Gap from the various conversations and meetings and opportunities that we've shared. And they'll percolate through and really influence our decision making. So, for example, just to give one example, we've developed and adapted the way we support and create new pathways and look at progression and different opportunities outside of Mind the Gap for our artists and increasingly our students. And quite a lot of the practice we've done is a real direct borrow and really directly influenced by our learning from the excellent work that happens at L'Oiseau-Mouche and Moms and our wider partnership. So it's impossible, I find it impossible to identify one thing, but that resilience of our partnership is something I wanted to just bring to the table in these closing moments.
Thank you very much, Julia. Annabelle.
I don't feel I have much to add to those excellent contributions. I love this partnership. I think there's lots of strength between the three organizations, but also with the wider partnership we are building upon as the years go by. I really like what you say, Jonathan, in Mind the Gamp's film on the music residencies. You say when you are in another country, when you are watching something else, it opens a place in your mind where you can see yourself, and and that's really so enriching to be challenged in this way. We have lived so long in our bubble, sure of our ways and practices, and that's a very healthy way to be challenged, I think. I'd say that it's also very challenging to welcome people and have those people watching what you do daily without really thinking about it. And that's also a very healthy exercise to be suddenly watched. And then you think, why am I doing that every day? Or maybe I should reflect on that again. So lots of very interesting and challenging benefits from the project, even though we've been working with the pandemic situation, etc. And yeah, I think we've proven with TextLab that we were able and strong enough to go beyond that and continue working together.
Moi, je dirais que ça nous a fait évoluer sur deux dimensions, en fait, sur la dimension du fonctionnement et de l'organisation, mais aussi sur la dimension des valeurs, finalement, et des fondamentaux du projet. Donc, pour le dire différemment, on pourrait... Moi, j'avais trouvé une formulation, mais je me souviens plus de ce que c'est. Oui, c'est de réfléchir à notre ambition, mais aussi aux moyens qu'on met en place, du coup, pour accéder à cette ambition-là. Et je pense que c'est des réflexions, alors peut-être qu'on les aurait eues si on était resté tout seul dans notre côté, mais on les aurait eues dans 20 ans et on aurait certainement trouvé beaucoup moins ça aurait certainement ouvert beaucoup moins de portes, en tout cas dans l'esprit que le fait de travailler à trois nous a apporté quand même.
Yeah, Justine was also saying that how challenging it is and how interesting to compare and contrast, and also that sometimes it points out things in terms of value that you thought immovable, like they would be there forever, but then suddenly you get to challenge them because you were confronted with another approach in another country, and maybe you would have by yourself, but it would have taken 20 years to challenge and question your ways and your values. But then suddenly, through the confrontation with our organization, then you get to challenge things you wouldn't think would get challenged.
Et effectivement, ces 3 ans, je pense qu'ils nous ont permis de nous poser les bonnes questions. Et effectivement, il suffirait d'un projet de plus pour trouver les bonnes réponses.
So she says it took us 3 years to be able to ask the right questions, and now we need 3 more years to be able to find the answers. I would also add on a very personal point of view that through this project, I got to work with my colleagues in a way that I never experienced before, because as I work as a project officer, usually in front of my computer or outside on meetings, and I rarely get to my hands on the ground. So that was very enriching to work with you guys very closely, like I've never had before. So, and that's very challenging when you're leading a European project to make sure that the connection with the rest of the organization exists, because it's so easy to be isolated and work on with the other European organization and get lost with the ground. So it's how you maintain and this link between the European project and the reality of the organization. It's a real day-to-day challenge, and it's nice to have some companions along the way to make this possible.
Hey.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, well, I think my sense is that it's been a very rich learning process, not without its bumps, but I think the bumpiness is part of the learning. But perhaps we could look look to the final question, I think, of the day, and then we'll let all the good people who are attending go about their business and the rest of their evenings. And that's just looking ahead and asking the sort of open questions about what next. So I'm going to come in a minute to Dominique once I can see him, and I think he's just coming back into the picture, which is good. But after I've been to Dominique to tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the digital program that's coming up in the autumn, I'd just like to ask that question, what next, to Sandra, to Julia, and to Annabelle. But let's be hearing a little bit first from our colleague in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, at Theatre Babel, Dominique, about the future plans that we have to show some of our work online in the autumn. Over to you, Dominique.
Trying to unmute myself here. It seems that my ears are not working. So I'm checking whether everyone can hear me now. Yes, amazing. Thank you so much. How wonderful to see you all online. This is great. And it made me realize as well how much I missed working together with you the past 1.5 years. Though we've been in touch a couple of times, we are all here at Theatre Babel looking forward very much to start working on the digital festival and hopefully meet everyone here in Rotterdam. And I'm very happy that Jonathan invited me to, on behalf of the entire Crossing the Line collaboration, talk a little bit about this digital festival that we're gonna put out starting in September 9th. So that's why I'm here on the stage of Theatre Babel in Rotterdam. What we're going to do is try and focus from the core qualities and the core values that are crossing the line. We're going to build up a lot of digital content, and we're going to bring it to everyone in Europe who's interested. All the partners that we already have, we're going to extend that to new companies and try and get people interested and create new audiences for all of us. But we're going to build our relationships by offering everyone for free a lot of digital content of our theaters, of our theater productions, of some live conversations, of some live stream theater actually being broadcast live throughout Europe, and some pre-recorded theater productions as well, because not everything is available to be live streamed. In total, I am counting at this point 27 different broadcast moments throughout the festival, and that's only going to grow on because Jonathan is collaborating with all of us, and I hear Julia is always going to put put something into the mix. So the program is going to grow even further than that, and we all felt that our need for a connection with everyone in Europe was so big that we all decided that we're going to do this free of charge for the audience. Nobody has to pay for it. You do have to register for it, but it's more important for us to connect with everyone outside of us, outside of our companies, show each other our work, and show it to everyone in Europe and try and grow our audience. With the goal, of course, that we raise the profiles of our actors, of the companies that we are, and perhaps discover completely new connections and collaborations. In the end of this festival, which will last, it will start at September 9th and it will last up until November, throughout November, and it will end up, if the rules still are good at that time, it will end up with here on this floor, actually behind me, where we will meet all the partners with a lot of the actors, probably not all of them, I guess that would be too many, but we're gonna have about 24 actors and partners from Sweden, Ireland, France, Poland, and they're all gonna meet up here. We're gonna be working together and we're gonna connect that to the end of the digital festival. So hopefully we will all meet again live, in real life, and that way close up the festival. So this is what we're gonna do. It will start September 9th, and of course all details will be sent out to everyone, so you can join up in time.
Dominique, thank you very much.
Welcome.
It's just perhaps worth adding that the reason why we're doing this, apart from the fact that we want to share all the fabulous content with you, is because we didn't get to do our live festival back in Galway over a year ago, because we were about 6 weeks out from it when the pandemic really began to hit, at least in Northwestern Europe. And so we had hoped to be giving you a rather fabulous 4-day live face-to-face festival as part of Galway European Capital of Culture in May 2020. And we held on in the hope that we might be able to bring it to you at some point later this year, but the gods were not aligned to our side. And so this is an apology to say we're really sorry we couldn't do that, but we hope you'll join us for some kind of version of work that would have gone into that, and new work that's been made subsequent to that. So that's a little prequel. Thank you very much, Dominique, for giving us a quick heads up on what that work will be and when it's coming.
Thanks for the addition, because I completely forgot to start up, like we discussed with the festival in Ireland. And again, you know, thanks to all our colleagues in Ireland at Blue Teapot who did so much work for this festival that wasn't able to come out in the end. But let's hope that we will find a bigger audience even in autumn with the digital festival.
We hope so. Thank you, Dominique. Okay, let me then revisit that question about what next. So I'm going to go to Sandra, and then Julia, and then the last word to Annabelle.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, first of all, we need to pick up on Jess's request, don't we, to to do creative collaboration in the future that is not on Zoom. I think we're all looking forward to actually being able to meet again. There's more to learn. I mean, I want to follow what happens at Mind the Gap with your formalized training, and how can we use that? How can we work with that? And I think the wider collaboration, Crossing the Line, this is the second edition of Crossing the Line Festival. I think we should mention the first edition of Crossing the Line Festival was made in Roubaix in 2017, wasn't it? So I'm also looking forward to us doing the third edition of that somewhere at some time.
Thank you, Sandra. Julia.
Yeah, what Sandra said. Yes, very much about the what next, as in how do we ensure that the consolidation of this specific project and the Transmalina sister brother project aren't the end of the line for our partnership. So it's about looking at ways in which we can be creative and continue to innovate around how we make things possible through raising more money to make things directly possible, but also just keeping the partnership alive through those things that we can do. And I think just to go back to the sharing the learning, it has been quite painful at times, adapting to working digitally, but I think the learning that we can take from that about actually it isn't the same, and there are strengths and weaknesses, but it is a way we can quite readily at very practical low cost keep the conversations going across the organizations. And I say we have quite a lot of work to do in terms of making sure that the resources that we have generated through this project, that we can make them available. And as we've been going through the day, I've been sort of sitting largely in the background on sort of chats and notes and things, and there's lots of things that I thought, oh, we could put that in and make things available, and also think about how we invite other people to contribute their resources into that as well. So we have a really rich resource for anybody who's looking at wanting to develop work and practice to develop the skills and opportunities for artists with a learning disability and autism.
Thank you, Julia. Annabelle.
I don't have anything more to add to what you say. I mean, we look forward to continue working together. We indeed have found new ways to collaborate, even though we couldn't meet in person. So that might be worth investigating further, even though the desire to work in real flesh is very, very present here. And yes, we look forward to future endeavors, artistic endeavors. I think also with Text Lab, we had a taste of producing something together, even though it was not a show per se, but it give us a taste of what it could look like, and that's also a door that could open in the future, providing that we manage to finance those projects. And yes, thank you, Sandra, for opening the door also to a Swedish festival. It's a date. And yes, I would just add that it's also difficult in even though the European Union has provided us with opportunities and resources to work together, to travel, to test any ideas, not any ideas, but projects. And it's also very complicated to maintain momentum with this obligation of finding new funds every 3 or 4 years. And that's really puts it's really difficult to be thinking of project on the long term when you constantly have to do applications and submit yourself to evaluation of project, etc., etc. I think that's something it has never forbidden us to work together, but that's also a constraint we have to work with, and that's worth mentioning. But we will continue moving forward, I hope.
Thank you very much, Annabelle. Well, from my point of view, my hope is that the work continues to develop in different ways. I think with all our partners, potentially with other partners as well. We will need to take some stock, I'm sure, and complete this project. And that will involve putting the various sections of today together, editing them, making them available both to you and to all the people that were interested to come today, but unavailable to come, as it were, and be with us live. There are key things that we will reflect on. We need to continue to put our artists at the center of what we do. And in a pandemic, that casts a very stark light, I think, on what that means in terms of people's very basic health and indeed welfare. And that's something that will continue to inform our thinking and be at the core of what drives us. We must unfortunately mention Brexit and some of the difficulties that will pose for at least one of the partners. My own strategy is to move to Italy and to leave Britain. But I recognize that that's a luxury I can afford and may not be something that the Bradfordians necessarily want to do by decamping wholesale to continental Europe. But it is something we will have to reckon with in our future planning. Folks, I'm going to draw today to a close, if that's okay.